Good afternoon. I'm Chief Ron Thomas of the Denver Police Department, here to provide an initial update about this large police response that occurred here at East High School. What I can tell you at this moment is that at approximately 1:53, we received a call of an active shooter here at East High School. Specifically, a male caller called in to our police dispatch. I think indicated that they were a teacher and said that there was an active shooting going on here at East Colfax, provided a suspect description, the address of the school, and then quickly hung up. That call was immediately aired. Officers quickly responded. There were officers on scene in less than 2 minutes. Quickly entered the school and began searching and trying to move towards the threat. We were able to immediately also coordinate with Denver Public Schools camera system to get sort of a live feed into the building to identify whether there are any indication of a shooting. There was no indication of a shooting. However, we continued with our full-scale response, which included response by DPD, DPS security, State Patrol, as well as area campus police. We were able to secure the school very quickly and then begin our process of evacuating the students to the football field here at East High School, and then also beginning a systematic search of the entire school for any threats. Ultimately, we did not locate any threats or any individuals that had been injured. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, DPS Security Chief Mike Eaton.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Mike Eaton. I'm the Chief of the Department of Safety for Denver Public Schools. We, through our partnership with Denver Police, we were notified at approximately 1:54 p.m. of a potential active shooter here at East High School. We do have interoperability on our radio system, so we were able to lock down this school immediately. So at 1:54, this school was locked down by DPS safety, and summoned DPS armed officers as well as DPD was coming to support. Want to applaud the students. I want to applaud the East community for their diligence in keeping students safe, for acting on our emergency plans that they've been trained to, and ultimately for a successful outcome here where nobody was injured. And so obviously there'll be more to come, and we will continue to support the East community how best we can. I'd like to turn over to our superintendent, Dr. Alex Marrero.
Thank you, Chief Eaton, and thank you, Chief Thomas, for the collaboration. Yet again, DPS and DPD have shown how we work well together. The response time, as you just heard, was almost immediate and less than 2 minutes. And I also have been briefed and received those notices as well. One area of improvement that we always can call on when we have situations like this is communication, in particular for those impacted parents. I ask you all, not for forgiveness, but for understanding that we have to make sure that our communication is accurate. So this happened very timely. That's one area in which we'll grow. We've learned from this experience last year when we had another scare. And all I can say is we had our campus last year, which is our largest campus, our largest school this afternoon, and the response time has been incredible. Helps me feel safe and secure, not only as superintendent of schools, but also as a parent. So thank you again for the collaboration, and I'll open it up to questions.
Talk to some students who said on Friday that there was a drill, and there was some confusion between today and Friday. One's a drill, one real life.
Yeah, so to answer your question, every school in Denver Public Schools is required to do a lockdown drill within the first 30 days of each semester. That's also a state law, and regarding emergency drills, they're required of public schools and private schools. We want to train our students to take any type of emergency notification seriously. So when those drills occur, obviously we work with the school to initiate those drills, but students and staff should always take those seriously so that they perform in a real situation like today as they did in the drill. And usually at the end of those drills, we will let them know there was a drill and thank you for participating. But it's to make sure they're prepared for today's like things today.
So Mike, was the call legitimate? Was it from a teacher, or was that a chief?
That's still under investigation, so we don't believe at this time that the call came from a teacher. We do believe it came from outside of the building, and we're still exploring, exactly the source of that call.
Hearing reports of similar reported shootings across the country, can you hear anything about that? Is this
Yes, I am aware of that. I am aware of the fact that it has happened in other cities across the country, as well as a couple of different schools in the state of Colorado.
What about the arrest right in front of here not too long ago?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, there was a described suspect by the caller, and we did see someone who very closely matched the description of that caller, and so we did make contact with them, but ultimately they were arrested for an unrelated offense.
We're hearing word of 3 separate schools being on lockdown at the same time across the state. Hearing any inkling of a connection between this incident and the other?
So I think that similar incidents occurred at a couple of different schools within the state, so I think that's the source of the other lockdowns.
But any connection, Chief? I mean, is there any
We don't know. That's something that we're certainly going to explore, try to match the information that we have relative to our caller, along with the information that we have on the other callers and the other incidents.
And then if you are indeed able to identify that caller, then what?
Well, there is certainly a local charge relative to interference with the school school activities in progress, but there are also some federal charges as well, and we're certainly in connection already with our federal partners to identify an appropriate charge.
Are you guys pleased with how your response went today? And in particular, I guess, parent pickup over in City Park, there was sort of some panic, but seemed orderly for the most part.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the response from our DPD partners as well as from the Department of Safety. We have armed officers that are on that are trained in emergency response along with DPD. I think that co-responder worked very well today so that we could get here, get in the school, mitigate the threat, and make sure everyone is safe. Obviously, these situations are very fluid, and so sometimes, as Dr. Marrero stated, communication is delayed getting out to parents. And before we can even get a communication out, facts have changed, and so it's our duty and our responsibility to make sure that we're communicating in a timely manner, but that communication is accurate. Dr. Marrero?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
In terms of getting better, you mentioned the Central Park situation we had in terms of reunification. High school students similarly here. So what we learned, our high school students, the majority arrive whether they walk or drive. So once we secured the perimeter, and I know those minutes become anti-minutes, but once we had that communication, we shared it publicly, and we also gave the option for those who want to be reunited. So unfortunately, we have to deal with these situations. We will keep responding accordingly. Not only is it a federal offense, it also is an incredible disruption to the learning environment. But this will always be our response, and hopefully we don't have more practice runs. But we will learn from every situation.
It'll always be the response, and I know you can't predict the future, but where do we go from here? It seems like, unfortunately in this day and age, we're following more and more of this, and I know you can't predict it, prevent it, but I mean, where do we go from here?
Well, I don't know if you have an answer in terms of what do we do in terms of penalty, but as an institution of learning, we prioritize making sure that we're safe, secure, and no teaching will happen, much less learning, if we have some sort of threat. So our response will be this until we figure out how we can stop these threats from happening.
How long did the lockdown last?
So the school was placed in lockdown at about, as I stated, 1:54, I think it was, 1:54 p.m. We did lift the lockdown after DPD had cleared the entire building, and we were able to start letting students back in, which was close to about, I think 3:30.
So, roughly about 90 minutes from the time that we got the first call to the time that we were able to kind of give an all clear, which I think is pretty good for not only evacuating, several hundred students, but also, systematically searching the building and making sure that there were no threats.
So were students hiding kind of for 90 minutes, or were they being let out?
No, so there was a systematic process for evacuating, certainly making sure that they were escorted to the rally point, making sure that they were secured at the rally point. Certainly we had to take special precautions for certain students, but I think the majority of the time actually was the time that it took to make sure that the school was safe and secure and there were no threats.
I saw one person being taken away in an ambulance, but they seemed unrelated. Was that like an evacuation related injury maybe?
Potentially. So, I understand that there were some issues with some heat exhaustion over on the ball field. Obviously very hot day today, atypical for September. But we certainly accounted for some of that, trying to provide water and shade as best we could. Called in the fire department so that they could kind of hydrate people as best they could.
Señor Barrero, ¿puede decir algo en español, por favor?
Sí, claro, claro. Saludo. Esta tarde en East High School, una escuela que tenemos secundaria, había una llamada amenazando que iban a hacer daño con un rifle. No fue cierto, era una broma. Nosotros recibimos esa amenaza como a las 1:53 y en 2 minutos, a las 1:55, llegaron las autoridades del departamento de policía, igual el departamento de nosotros. Y nosotros comunicamos lo más que podíamos con los padres y en breve aliviamos la amenaza y los niños, la mayoría, se fueron a la casa, los que llegan aquí caminando o en su mismo coche, y los demás que quieren reunirse lo tenemos aquí en el auditorium para los padres. Muchas gracias. We're good? Thank you.
Thank you.